Hey everyone! Welcome back to RedTOOL Woodshop. In this video, we're going to take a closer look at Woodpecker's new router plane that was released in the late fall of 2024. I'll show you how all the adjustments on the blade mechanism work, how to move the blade to 3 different locations, how to sharpen the blade, and how to install and use the fence. Alright, let's get started. Let's first check out the blade mechanism. Now, when your router plane arrives, everything will be all assembled, dialed in, and your blade will be perfectly sharp and ready to cut. But to show you how everything goes together, I've disassembled the blade mechanism so you can see how it all works. The 1/2 inch wide blade is machined in a way to create this raised beveled profile. The shaft features the same profile, but it's inset. So when you attach the blade to the shaft, everything lines up perfectly. Notice the flats machined on 4 sides of the shaft. These flats allow the double wedge locking mechanism to lock the blade securely in all 4 90-degree increments. If you're wondering what the double wedged locking mechanism is, well, here's a look at everything assembled. And here's a look at everything disassembled. The wedge with the single recess goes on the screw first, with the wedge side facing up, then followed by the spring. This other wedge features a double recess with threads on one side. Place that one on top, with the wedge side facing down, then compress the spring and turn the screw to secure everything in place. You'll see as you turn the screw, the 2 wedges draw towards one another. This design allows for the blade to automatically be drawn to the nearest 90-degree location as you tighten the locking mechanism. If you'd like to rotate the blade further, loosen the locking knob a little more than you normally would. Then rotate the blade by hand so it's close to another 90-degree position. Then tighten the locking knob and the double wedge will draw the blade into position. Now let's backtrack a little bit and see how to install the locking mechanism. To install it, just slide it in this hole on the side of the aluminum body. But make sure the 2 wedges are facing up. Now it doesn't matter if you're right or left-handed. You can install the locking mechanism so the knob is conveniently placed on whichever side you prefer. Once it's in position, slide the shaft up through the bottom. If you'd like the depth stop to be installed, you can go ahead and slide that on now. Then rotate the shaft so it can seat into the recess on the depth adjustment. The depth adjustment is one of the features on this router plane that you will love. The split nut design and fine pitch screw practically eliminates any backlash as you turn the knob to raise and lower the blade. The blade assembly can be mounted to the base in 3 different positions, with the blade facing either in or out in each position. To install it, simply position it where you'd like and secure it in place using the included screw and Allen wrench. With the blade facing inwards, you'll get support on all 4 sides of the blade. Whether you're pushing or pulling, the tool is well balanced for grooves and short dados. With the blade facing outwards, there's plenty of sole behind the blade and there's no obstructions in front of the blade, which makes it easy to plane into stopped grooves that you wouldn't otherwise be able to reach. The blade mechanism can also be moved to 2 other locations by swapping the position of one of the handles and the blade. To do that, just loosen the screw to remove the handle and replace it with the blade mechanism facing either inside or outside of the body. The handle you removed can be reinstalled in the open spot. With the router plane in this position, you can dial in the thickness of tenons by removing material going with the grain instead of across the grain, and this leaves you with a much smoother finish. To create consistent grooves, pockets, and tenons, you'll most definitely want to utilize the depth stop. You can lock this in place either by hand or with the included Allen wrench to firmly tighten it in place. Whichever option you choose, just make sure to tighten it against one of the flat sides on the shaft. Next, let's take a look at the optional fence add-on kit. The fence is made out of 3/8" solid phenolic and has two guide rods that allow the fence to slide back and forth. You can install the fence in 3 different locations here on the router plane. To install it, place the 2 guide rods in the slots and secure them in place with the included screws. In this current orientation, you can position the fence up to 6.5 inches away from the edge of the blade. Or you can slide the fence under the base right next to the blade. To position the fence up to an extra 3 3/4 inches away from the blade, you can move the guide rod mounting blocks to the secondary location. If you're using the fence to reference a curved edge, you can flip the fence around to use the 2-point reference on the other side. If you prefer a shop-made fence instead, you can easily attach it to the base using these 4 countersunk holes. Lastly, let's check out how to go about sharpening the blade. Since the blade removes completely from the shaft, there's no complicated jigs that are necessary to sharpen it. Your blade will come perfectly sharp from the factory, but to touch it up after some use, I like to use a 6,000 grit sharpening stone and a leather strop with some honing compound. To sharpen the square blade, I'll make about 20 passes in both directions on the stone while keeping the blade pressed down to follow the angle. Then I wipe off the blade on a towel and do about 10 passes on my leather strop, only applying pressure as I pull the blade towards me. To remove the small burr created on the bottom side from sharpening, I'll flip the blade over and make about 5 passes on the bottom. You may choose to do more passes while you're sharpening, depending on how dull your blade is, but you'll know it's back to razor sharp if you can slice through a piece of paper like this. To sharpen the spear point blade, you'll follow a similar procedure. Since the cutting edge has a bevel, you'll want to sharpen just one side at a time, making sure to only apply pressure while pulling the blade towards you. Here I'm doing about 10 passes on one side of the bevel and 10 passes on the other. However many you do, just make sure to do an equal amount on the other side. Once that was done, I did 5 passes on each side on the leather strop. And then finally remove the burr by making a few light passes on the bottom of the blade. It doesn't take much to get either blade for your router plane back to razor sharp. Well guys, that about wraps up this video on the Woodpeckers Router Plane. But before we go, I wanted to let you know that there is also a secondary option available for this tool, and it's made by Blue Spruce. The blue spruce router plane has the exact same features and functions as the Woodpeckers Router Plane. Only difference being that the handles are made out of Bolivian rosewood instead of Woodpeckers red anodized aluminum. You'll also notice that the anodizing on the blade mechanism is clear on this option instead of red. Whichever router plane you choose, you will surely not be disappointed, as both of these are fantastic options. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any other questions about this tool, please leave them in the comments section below. If you'd like to pick up either of these router planes, there's direct links to both of them in the description box below. Thanks so much guys for watching, and I'll see you next time here on RedTOOL Woodshop.